throwers.
It's time to start thinking of snow throwers, isn't it? Because we have had some snowy weather. And we've had some areas that have seen 15 centimeters plus of snow. It's very evident when you look at the satellite and radar which zones are getting the worst of it. There are some areas just down towards southwestern Ontario, a narrow band that brought down some snow this weekend as well. Toronto and north of the city predominantly, few more flurries, but largely now breaking in that and then getting ready for the next round of snow to come in. So it is the time to start thinking winter tires if you haven't already done so, because we've got winter weather on us now and get a little bit more of it heading into early Thursday for the GTA. In terms of the winds, yeah, northwest winds are easing through Tuesday and really staying gusty out towards southern Quebec and southeast Ontario. Atlantic Canada, this is a rain event through Tuesday. We've got some mild temperatures in advance of that low. Records were broken yesterday, many of them in Newfoundland, some of them over 100 years old yesterday. We see temperatures that are not too bad. Newfoundland stays on the mild side. We're still in the mid-teens tomorrow in St. John's. However, back toward the west, it's a different story. A series of low pressure systems coming in with rain on the coast and snow levels that are decreasing to around 1,000 meters. So I think we need to be prepared for travel, winter travel in the BC interior for the mountain passes because those snow levels are so low. We have to watch also the potential of freezing rain along the front as it makes its way across into Manitoba. There's snow mixing in here as well. But south of this line, it's nice and mild. We have warmer than average temperatures. With that southerly flow, the temperatures here are not bad. Single-digit highs like 9 degrees in Calgary, for an example, today. It's not going to last, but the northern areas stay nice and cold. It's going to happen tonight on the winter forecast at 9 p.m. It's our debut, and we can tell you what our meteorologists believe will happen over the next 3 months of winter, and so you don't want to miss that. It's brought to you by Columbia, and the hashtag to follow is winter forecast. So let's take a look here at the whole country and what we can expect Tuesday. The rain returns to Vancouver, and once it settles in, it's going to stay there nearly all week. A lot of rain on the way from Metro Van. Cools down in Calgary, and we've got still cold temperatures in southern Ontario. Weekend, this is in the southeast of Ontario and southern Quebec. 5 to 10 more centimeters to come as we look ahead to Tuesday. South of Kingston and Cornwall, hard hit here. Eastern townships too, out towards Sherbrooke, looking at a lot of snow. Back toward southern Ontario, central and southwest, another trace to a couple centimeters. North of Toronto, a little higher, and then down towards southwestern Ontario. Mark, are you okay out there near Oshawa? What is going on?
Here, Cheryl.
All right, thanks. Terrible conditions out there. And you know, you've been probably following Mark for a long time, and it has happened, but usually it's in hurricanes where he gets knocked off of his feet. Just goes to show you just how strong the winds are out there today. Now we're talking about another low can come in, so it's going to keep Mark hopping, right? Because by late Wednesday night and into Thursday morning, pre-dawn hours, see how there's the blue in advance of this bulk of rain coming in with our next system. That's a Colorado low. It'll have a high impact across northwest Ontario. Winnipeg gets snow from that as well. But that Colorado low then moves off, and then we see mixing precipitation here with that. Across Atlantic Canada, we had record warmth yesterday in Newfoundland. Rain still on the Labrador side of things, but on the back side of the low, we have snow, and that's why Ottawa's picked up 15 centimeters, southern Quebec too. Off goes this low pressure system. The thing to note here is just how unsettled it is with rounds of showers and cold rain throughout the Maritimes and mixing in at times in New Brunswick. But we will see some improvements coming by the midweek for the Maritimes. It might take another day or so for it to clear out completely from Newfoundland, but definitely looking at some unsettled weather there. We start to see clearing, and then here comes the next low pressure system that will bring with it, again, snow on the top side of it, but then predominantly rain. Precipitation through the west. Hey, Vancouver's getting into a big spell of rain here in the coming days. Starts tonight, continues the rest of the week, a series of lows. We'll see 50, 60 millimeters of rain in Metro Van. Snow levels are lower in the BC interior to 1,000 meters, and then across the prairies, we're not looking at much. In fact, it's nice and warm here across the southern prairies, colder to the north, but we are going to be seeing a snowfall event coming. Winnipeg, 5 to 10 centimeters, Thunder Bay in that as well as through the Dryden and Kenora areas. Local forecast right now.
Throwers.
Here it is, the snow, it continues. Southern eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, upstate New York, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, all talking about here some snowfall. We're talking about southern Ontario and southwestern areas that could see another 5 or so centimeters, but north of Toronto, we'll see higher totals as you head away from the city. But we're still in that situation where we've got a pretty decent northwest wind. The snow will start to taper. But you know what? We need to be prepared, and so do snowplow operators. Here's Kevin on how that all works. No doubt. All right. Thanks so much for that. This is the precipitation forecast for Atlantic Canada, with the rainfall and showers continuing, at times mixing in for New Brunswick, and then north of that into Quebec, it is snowfall. Speaking of snow, there is some through northern parts of Manitoba, and then with our Colorado low that's coming into play later in the week, we get a spell of snow, about 5 to 10 centimeters for Winnipeg. So we're going to be watching for that. Across the prairies, though, it's nice and mild on the south side of our boundary. North of that, it is still cold, and we're going to get more rain on the way to BC. Right now, we're in a spell of drier weather, but Vancouver is going to set to see 50 millimeters plus of rain, as well as West Vancouver Island through Wednesday, with the onset of a series of low pressure systems that are on their way. You can see here, there's White Rock and Langley, but you head north into Surrey and beyond up toward Burnaby, and you've got yourself quite a bit of rain on the way. But, you know, there's winter weather up there, too. By the way, our winter forecast is releasing tonight. We're debuting it at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, so you'll want to tune in and follow us on social media as well. Talking about storm totals here, in many cases impressive from not only the standpoint of the amount of snow, but from the northwest winds. Toronto, 69 kilometer per hour gust. Hamilton to 74. We also had this isolated snow squall band out in southwestern Ontario, where we saw about 15 centimeters of snow, and now through tomorrow morning another 5 or so down in the south and west. But if we're talking about the areas to the east of Toronto and perhaps out toward Oshawa, for example, we'll check in with Mark Robinson on the conditions there north of the city, and we can hear the wind behind you. Mark, how are you faring?
Jay, back to you, Sheryl.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. Yeah, you're right. We've got to be mindful of our speed, even though the roads are not covered. And keep in mind that they're wet. So even by the evening, temperatures drop and then they start to freeze. So it could be a black ice situation. Significant snowfall. Yeah, indeed. Look at this. South of Cornwall and Kingston, 5 to 15 centimeters. Upstate New York has been hard hit down towards Syracuse. They had schools closed today as well. Another low is coming in for the midweek, and this one will be predominantly rain, but just in advance of it, there could be a little bit of snowfall before that transition to what is really more temperatures sitting around, say, 6-7 degrees in Toronto by Thursday. But it's that early pre-dawn, especially Thursday morning, could be a bit of snow before it transitions back over. So some mixing with that Wednesday, Thursday. We'll watch for this. Otherwise, in the Maritimes, actually yesterday we had record-breaking heat in Newfoundland. One area in the interior broke a record from, gosh, it was in the 1890s. It was a 125-year-old record or so. So it goes to show you, very unusual warmth for this time of year in Newfoundland. Low pressure system here, bringing with it some showers and some mixing. Next couple of days unsettled. However, by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday, we'll start to see improvements for the Maritimes. Newfoundland, though, looks like we'll see some more rainfall continuing through Thursday and then easing up on Friday. There's a Colorado low that is on its way, of course, to northwestern Ontario. But for the time being, it's all about this boundary. North of that line, we've got cold air. South of that line, warm. And we've got a lot of rain on its way to BC again. The snow totals are one thing, and it's impressive, Deep River. But I think more importantly, it's about the snow drifts, because let's keep in mind, we've had a lot of driving snow, and it makes it look worse, I think, sometimes than it really is. Not to discount this, though. This is in Kingston. The amount of snow has been pretty impressive. We've seen 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters, but here's a good example in Val-d'Or, Quebec, of the amount of snow, but also the snow drifts. That really pushes up against the door. You open the door, and what are you left with? A nice imprint. Okay, let's take a look at what is happening in terms of weather conditions across the country. Low pressure systems, actually a couple of them coming into play. The first one being snowfall. Through Val-d'Or, Quebec, and down toward Ottawa. Kingston's been hard hit, and then out toward Atlantic Canada, mixing at times, and rain. However, there's another system that is on the horizon, and it's starting to move in with snow in northwestern Ontario, 5 to 10 centimeters, Thunder Bay, back toward Winnipeg. It comes across southern Ontario initially with snow, but then quickly transitioning to rain, and we see milder temperatures just barely in the warm sector of that low pressure system. So two things on the map there. In terms of the winds we're dealing with now and through Tuesday, it starts to abate for southwestern Ontario tomorrow. Remains gusty in the south and east, out toward North Bay too. Gusts on Lake Ontario are far higher than those on Lake Erie heading into tomorrow. And that rainfall forecast through Tuesday brings us about 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters at most, Cape Breton. And then out toward the Burin, the Bonavista, and the South Avalon, seeing slightly higher totals of rain and warm temperatures. That's why it stays as rain, because we're on the warm side of the low. But it doesn't stay that way. As that low departs, the cold air comes into play, and then here comes our next system, the Colorado low, into Thursday, Friday for Atlantic Canada. Back toward the west, well, a Pacific system is going to move in. In fact, it'll start to rain again in Vancouver tonight, 5 to 10 millimeters coming overnight, and then Vancouver sees a spell of wet weather nearly all week long thereafter. There will be locally in Metro Van upwards of 60 millimeters, 70 millimeters of rain. The island is going to be in that as well. We visited Banff recently. We're talking about favorable conditions for the mountains, so good news from that perspective. Less of good news if you're traveling along the highways across the prairies. If you're heading in the northern areas, then you're running into mixing and snow. The southernmost areas, regional roads south of the Trans-Canada should be okay because we've got some nice mild air. Freezing rain, ice pellets, never fun to drive in. Seeing nice driving warmth across the prairies and temperatures staying in the single digits, so looking good from that perspective next couple of days.
Throwers.
The storm watch coverage continues, and with good reason. This has been a high impact storm for a lot of people in southeast Ontario, southern Quebec, Atlantic Canada. At times some mixing and snow in this, but largely rain and warm temperatures in the front, on the front side in the advance of that low pressure system, but on the back side it is definitely cold and snow that we're dealing with. We've got a Colorado low that's also coming into play. Northwest Ontario and Winnipeg and east sees 5 to 10 centimeters of snow later in the week. By contrast, Prairie's okay. We've got lots of sunshine on the way. However, BC, snow levels low. We're talking 1,000 meters snow levels, so driving in the mountain passes, you're going to be running into that this week. And Metro Van is going to see a lot of rainfall here, less in Langley than in Surrey, and you head up toward North Van, 50 to 70 millimeters of rain on the way. Series of low pressure systems, and the island is in that as well. But we don't have any wet weather just yet. Actually, it starts to move into Vancouver by tonight. Our winter forecast, by the way, is coming up tonight. Right now, though, it's the long range forecast.